Hey there, fellow wanderers. Tonight, as you settle into your cozy space, imagine stepping onto the warm, sun-drenched hills of ancient Crete. The air is salted by the sea, the breeze carries whispers of a time long past, and the Aegean sun stretches golden across the rooftops of a forgotten civilization. This isn't myth, this is memory, etched in ruins and echoed in legend. A cradle of culture, the Minoans danced, traded, built, and then vanished, leaving behind frescoes, palaces, and questions still unanswered. You probably won't survive this era, not because of war, but because the earth itself stirred beneath their feet. But fear not. Tonight, we explore it safely, through stories, not footsteps. If you find beauty in the strange and the ancient, like this video, subscribe and drop a comment with your location and local time. Let's trace history's silent footprints together. Now, dim the lights. Let the fan hum like wind sweeping through olive trees. Let's begin. And remember, in medieval times, even survival was a luxury. You trudge along the historical pathways of Minoan civilization, a place bursting with life and prosperity. This island, Crete, cradled a people known for their remarkable architecture, intricate art, and extensive trade networks. Behind every corner lies the vitality of the Minoans, characterized by their vibrant frescoes, sprawling palaces, and bustling marketplaces. Theirs was a society without apparent defenses, revealing their ease and seeming focus on trade and cultural endeavors over warfare. It begs the question, how could such a peaceful civilization crumble into the annals of mystery? Amidst these remnants, you discover relics of the past, woven intricately into the fertile soil. The Minoans, known for their communal practices, ensued a life of synchronized harmony with the island's natural resources. They built their society on the bountiful gifts of land and sea. Why wage war when the world around seemed ready to provide for you? Fish markets bustled with salmon and sardines, while the fields yielded olives and grapes, creating a tapestry of abundance. However, no story of paradise is complete without its shadow. Here, the looming presence of nearby volcanic islands hid beneath the seemingly serene Mediterranean waters. Little did the Minoans know, their tranquility was under siege by forces greater than anything they could have mustered defenses against, nature itself. The island stood vulnerable to volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and tsunamis waiting impatiently beneath the facade of serenity. Atlantic winds, brushing another layer of calm onto this civilization, seemingly lulled them into ease, unaware of impending doom. Imagine the bustling streets of Knossos, the legendary palace complex renowned for its labyrinthine design and mythological connection to the Minotaur. Children playing hide-and-seek amid storied columns, artisans crafting pottery while engaged in lively discussions about history and myths, and merchants striking deals over sumptuous feasts. Yet, somewhere beneath the chatter, you might have felt an occasional tremor, the earth shifting to remind the island of its precarious position. What was once considered divine blessing held foreboding as well. This dichotomy defines the Minoan experience, a life of contrasts between abundance and precarious survival. As you walk the paths once trod by these ancient people, you find evidence of trade items from lands across the seas. Their civilization has connections stretching from Egypt to Anatolia, hinting at a thriving trade network. The messengers of the sea were kept busy. Art, language, and ideas flowed as freely as wine from Knossos' storied goblets. The remnants of these ties remind you of a time when life seemed limitless, until nature's hands swept aside the grand orchestra with a daunting crescendo. The Minoan civilization, you see, flourished around 2000 BCE, becoming one of the most advanced societies on Earth. Yet they disappeared mysteriously around 1450 BCE, leaving behind questions and shattered fragments of history. Among these artifacts, you find the seeds of speculation concerning their downfall, most notably rooted in the destructive prowess of the Thera eruption. The frescoes detailing lush landscapes with leaping bulls and blue-skinned goddesses suggest a society immune to strife. But beneath these idyllic images, there was more than just artistic expression. Each stroke hid hints of their eventual fall, stories captured in time, waiting centuries for curious souls like yours to explore them again. Historians marvel at their sophistication. They argue endlessly whether Minoan society was purely peaceful and egalitarian as commonly believed, or if the absence of defensive structures belied a different form of conflict resolution. Open debates flourish about the role women played in their society artwork, and remains suggest they held significant influence, possibly sharing power or even leading, and yet, so much remains a riddle wrapped in an archaeological mystery. Your journey into the heart of Minoan mysteries leaves you pondering, standing at the brink of their mighty yet mysterious civilization. Like the sea lapping at Crete's shores, history edges closer, inviting you into deeper currents of curiosity and contemplation. Each layer of this ancient puzzle, piece by piece, unravels before us, serving both as a caution and as a call to explore deeper truths hidden beneath the passage of time. The sun rises over Crete, casting soft light on the ruins that whisper stories of a once flourishing civilization. You feel the crunch of gravel beneath your feet as you walk toward the horizon where the island of Thera lies, a source of awe and devastation, its narrative locked in stone and ash. Tension hangs in the air, the breath of a giant slumbering impatiently beneath the surface, an unwanted guest harboring intentions to reshape the world above. This is Thera Santorinia Caldera hugging the Aegean, once the main culprit in the series of events contributing to the enigmatic downfall of the Minoans. Around 1600 BCE, a violent volcanic eruption ripped through Thera, its fury echoing as far as the ancients could imagine. Hot ash and pumice spewed miles into the sky, a ghastly tower born from the Earth's innards. Its reverberations sent shivers along fault lines, potentially triggering catastrophic consequences for the neighboring Minoan stronghold. Thera's eruption is estimated to have been as colossal as Krakatoa's, expelling vast quantities of tephrash and rock fragments into the atmosphere. You can almost hear the calamitous roar, a terrible symphony of splintering rocks and tension releasing pent-up forces in an instant. Our imagined past paints a picture. Nightfall at midday, the sun's rays choked by thick clouds of volcanic residue. The temperature plunges, the air turned acrid, and difficult to breathe. As you delve deeper into this narrative, remember the Minoans' reliance on their crops and maritime trade networks. The fallout from Thera's eruption didn't just lay waste to immediate surroundings, but drew a menacing curtain across these lifelines, impacting agriculture, climate, and visibility for trading routes. It was as though a sudden, unasked-for guest came crashing down on a particularly boisterous dinner party, spreading chaos. Among historians, debates still simmer over the eruption's precise impact on Minoan civilization. Some assert it was the critical blow leading to their collapse, while others view it as a catalyst, compounding with existing vulnerabilities like earthquakes and dwindling resources. Historians still argue whether Thera physically dismantled towns, or if its subsequent climate effects merely cracked open the seams of a society already stretched thin by internal strains and Mycenaean encroachment. And somewhere in the margin of historical scripts, there's a suggestion of mythology catching up with reality. Perhaps the tale of Atlantis arose from this commingling of natural disaster and human imagination. The Minoans' rich legend weaving, coupled with Thera's dramatic rupture, might well have mingled into Plato's account of a lost civilization, drawing mythical allusions in history's tapestry. The eruption wasn't merely an act of terrene mischief, it birthed an ominous, bubbling cauldron of guesses and wild theories that linger, like steam from timeless vents. As you peer into the ancient caldera, its sheer rock face seems to stand as a mute witness to nature's destructive authority, shrouded in the mystery of what exactly befell the world it covered. Imagine the heartbeats of Minoan citizens racing, stories weaving through their marketplace conversions, as ash began to fall like dusty snowflakes, and tremors rattled the foundations of their sunlit palaces. Shouts echo through the streets, no longer filled with the usual commerce and lively banter, but cries of bewilderment turning to panic. Strip away the modern lullabies of electronica, and listen. The thunk of water against boats, once graceful in port, now tossed by unseen forcenature's power, transcends time. The sea becomes a beast, casting Minoan ships back in defiance, a reminder of human smallness against the vastness of planet Earth. In our imaginary walk through time, pause to sense the slow detachment of cultural breakdown and communication etched into stone tablets, recounting darkened skies, failed harvests, and the rattled economy in linear A script. You find yourself wondering, does any fatal narrative ever really die? Or do they merely lay buried under ash, waiting to be unearthed by curious souls undesiring of sleep? Tradition had fostered a people skilled in art and construction, yet unprepared for an eruption of this magnitude. Thera's volcanic upheaval might not have spelled a complete Armageddon, but it layered uncertainty upon fortune, cloaked the faithful in questions, and set civilization on a path leading further into historical obscurity with each seismic pulse. As you stand amid Crete's fragmented ruins, allow yourself to feel the tension between flourishing prosperity and unnatural forces beckoning demise. The Thera eruption remains a checkpoint in the layered tale of Minoan declinia's sudden trespasser, uprooting dreams and aspirations into endless fragments of myths and shards. For some, it was an unfathomable loss. For us, it crafts echoes that are as hauntingly fascinating as they are destructive. As you drift through thoughts of ancient Thera's calamitous eruption, the aftermath unravels with its own choreography of chaos. Layers of ash blanket the land, settling over the homes and hearts of the Minoans. An eerie silence descends as nature's wrath leaves behind a muted landscape, one awaiting rebirth or ruin. You can almost feel the weight of the dust settling in your lungs, a phantom reminder of an air now tinged with particles of imminent change. The world awakes to find Crete altered, its once blue skies dimmed by ashen hues. The brilliance of Minoan frescoes, vivid depictions of marine life and dynamic acrobatics, now seem hollow under the altered light. The vibrant colors fade, each particle of ash acting as a tiny eraser, softening details with every breath of wind. The fallout from the eruption is not simply a blanket over the physical world, but a shroud covering the societal and cultural norms that held the Minoans in delicate balance. In this landscape of silence and loss, you ponder the societal impact. The roads are no longer bustling with vibrant exchange. Instead, they lie eerily quiet. Fleets of trade ships, isolated by tempestuous seas. Coastal Minoan settlements, once buzzing with international merchants and storytellers, stand subdued among the ruins, with the whisper of waves still lapping at their fringes, an unwelcome reminder of what the seas had taken and might still hold in store. Surviving Minoans awoke each day to a world forever changed, an environment less fertile, the air heavier with memories of their abundant past now tinged by the physical changes in landscape and climate. Cooling temperatures cause growing seasons to fluctuate unpredictably, and food scarcity lurks ominously. Crops wilt, and olive trees, pinnacles of Minoan prosperity, suffer under relentless layers of volcanic debris. It becomes painfully clear that Minoan survival instincts weren't enough in this rapidly shifting scenario. You understand their predicament. Their world suddenly stilted and unyielding in the face of a force that had leveled mountains and silenced cities. Traditions waver. Where once bountiful produce defined identities, a greedy void lingers, turning their meticulous records, inscribed in an untranslatable linear A, into relics of cryptic longing. Turning the page to the human heart, the eruption catalyzes stories of both despair and resilience. In communities that weathered the plague of ash unfiltered, the spirit of adaptation flickers. Neighbors gather at the crumbling thresholds of their once magnificent palaces, speaking in hushed tones akin to prayers. Conversations, pregnant with uncertainty, echo in the halls once filled with Minoan laughter, shaping a communal resolvia tapestry of strength stitched from fear and determination. Some historians suggest the potential for social restructuring emerges in this grim historical tableau. New alliances form as the island's inhabitants attempt to find footing on unfamiliar grounds, both literally and figuratively. As you walk through these imagined gatherings, you notice murmurs of hope interlace with tales of ruin, like threads in a worn tapestry desperately needing repair. The survivors, holding fast to life, cling also to hope that lies embedded in soil they cannot yet touch. Through the stories of survivors, argue historians, emerges a rewritten tale of civilization and its vulnerability against nature. Did environmental degradation trigger a communal shift in spiritual beliefs? Perhaps a reversal of fortune led in new mythologies, shaping the Minoan and, potentially Mycenaean worldview steeped in survival, humility, and reverence for the Earth's indomitable strength. Here in contemplation, wandering through the now quieted ruins, the archaeological record invites discussion. Archaeologists sift through remnants methodically, piecing together narratives from ceramics that tell tales of international trade abruptly halted, or from storage jars still exuding the faint perfume of olive oil centuries expired. At this intersection where history meets imagination, consider not just an event that reshaped a land, but a people that, in their attempts to outlast cataclysm, left traces still buried under layers of stubborn ash and memory. In this world painted gray by disaster, the question remains: does human spirit diminish under such weight, or does it find resilience beneath the detritus? Leaning forward into these ashes, we seek from their silence the echoes of our own endurance and inventiveness. And as twilight paints a softer canvas over ancient Crete, the whispers of this bygone society continue shaping, reminding us that survival might craft new tales even in the silence. Now, as the dust settles both literally and on the annals of history, you notice a change in the winds. The Minoan world, previously thriving in its isolation and mastery of the seas, stands vulnerable against not only nature's wrath but human ambitions as well. Enter the Mycenaeans, those seafaring interlopers from a mainland, near and watchful, said to have smelled opportunity amidst the ruins of ash and shifting social dynamics. The Mycenaeans, known for their martial prowess and thick-walled fortresses, contrast sharply with the peaceful Minoan lifestyle. Imagine their boats navigating the azure waters, filled with ambitions and warriors, their sights set on the rich but weakened islands to the south. Did they see the Minoans merely as rivals easily toppled due to the island's recent upheavals, or was the relationship more complex, akin to unscrambling mixed signals in a game of cultural telephone? You walk along their ancient trade routes lines drawn not just on maps, but hearts and traditions. It's here that the Mycenaeans, hailing from the Greek mainland's Peloponnesian heart, begin to leave a more profound mark, blending their influences with the Minoan fabric. This wasn't merely a hostile takeover, it was an infusion, a cultural melting pot simmering with shared mythologies and contested histories. Historians propose that what began as trade blossomed into cultural symbiosis, wherein Mycenaean warlords might have intermarried with Minoan elites, crafting alliances through bonds stronger than swords. The Minoans' labyrinthine palaces, unguarded yet architecturally adept, both terrified and tantalized Mycenaean newcomers. They danced a delicate two-step of respect and thirst for dominance, interlocking destinies on sunlit island dance floors. Navigating these metaphorical waters, you discover stories of trade goods exchanged, not just physical items, but shared innovations and cultural dialogues on, ebbing and flowing tide of knowledge that painted frescoes with shades beyond natural disaster. With trade in pottery, precious metals, and textiles came the melding of myths, with stories carried from hearths to hearths, relentless as ocean waves. The impact of Mycenaean arrival ripples outward. Perhaps it even accelerated changes already stirring beneath the Minoan surface, disrupted by volcanic activity. The vigorous Mycenaeans quickly absorbed elements of Minoan civilization into their own, creating a hybrid culture that would outlive both. Stand at the thresholds of their emergence, and you see the dawn of Linear B, a script that builds upon the Minoan Linear A, yet evolves to reflect larger bureaucratic and militaristic complexities, reflective of Mycenaean values. Still, much remains shrouded in mystery and complete revelations that spark debates over precise roles and the power balance between Minoans and Mycenaeans. Despite these complexities, one thread remains steadfast: the undeniable influence of Minoan culture on this mainland ascendancy. Mycenaeans, with their taste for grandeur and narrative, relish Minoan artistry and technological feats, which enrich their stark mainland tapestries. Pottery styles blend, and architectural borrowings enhance logistics. Functional meets beautiful, while myths intertwine their way across bloodlines and battlements. It's also worth noting the whimsical curveballs history throws. The Mycenaeans' tales, buoyed by oral tradition, later become an essential foundation for Homer's epics. Was there a shimmering glint of Minoan elegance in the face of their legendary Helen, a trace of Knossos courtiers behind Achaean armor? Ultimately, as you meander through corridors where sunlight whispers of ancient glory, remember that the Mycenaean arrival, call it a conquest, a merging, or simply the turning of a cultural tide, played a pivotal role in reshaping the island and ushering in a new age. An age where twilights would still glow golden over Crete's hilltops, but the stories carried forward held new inflections, altered in pitches, rhythms, and horizons. The floodgates of change had opened, their currents sweeping Minoan mysteries into the broader Mediterranean narrative as the island's fate slowly melded with the continent's ever-driving pulse. In the quest to piece together the fragmented narrative of the Minoans, you find yourself sifting through the soil, the ultimate repository of history. This browned earth, which silently witnessed centuries of natural and human drama, holds keys to unwinding the enigma of a civilization lost to time. Archaeologists, the modern detectives of the ancient world, dig patiently here, spades in hand and hope in heart, searching for answers amid scattered evidence. Beneath layers of time, an artifact emerges here, a fresco fragment there each, offering glimmers of truth framed by silent, enduring ruins. It's like uncovering the final puzzle pieces to a once complete tapestry, its colors faded but design unmistakable. The image that unfolds speaks of a thriving Minoan society, peppered with mysteries that still baffle experts. Imagine yourself standing at the excavation site of Acrotiri on Thera, a perfectly preserved Minoan settlement buried under volcanic ash from the same eruption that started this mystery. Pulled away from its fiery fate, time stood still here, creating a stark, silent snapshot of civilization arrested by nature. Silence paints every wall, untouched for millennia, offering a glimpse into daily lives left behind a pottery jar, a sculpted dagger, a room with frescoes showing the sea's perpetual dance. These artifacts gently whisper stories of a people sophisticated, art-loving, and global in their reach. Here lies evidence of an organized society, businesslike in its record-keeping, as the unearthed Linear A tablets suggest. And yet, their script remains as enigmatic and unreadable as ever, making the archaeological cold case ironically akin to deciphering hieroglyphs without a Rosetta Stone. Historians eagerly debate these neat tablet columns, wondering, were the Minoans' records purely mercantile, or do they hint at deeper thoughts, perhaps philosophies and politics? The lack of clarity in these scripts only adds to their allure, magnetizing researchers who lose themselves trying to speak the voiceless language of a civilization swallowed by ash and time. As archaeologists scrape away the dust of ages, another tantalizing clue is found at the Grand Palace of Knossos itself, the mythic labyrinth home of King Minos, echoing the steps of the fabled Minotaur. This site extends tendrils into both Minoan mythology and history. Wandering its intricate layout, you can almost hear echoes of banquet halls alive with music and laughter, those sounds now carried only by insistent Cretan winds. Each stone, carefully placed centuries ago, still stands to mockingly reel from earthquakes and volcanic force, bowing only to the weight of history's mysteries lain thickly atop. The palace's frescoes depict scenes offering insight but shadowy vagueness, as well bright blues and bold reds, illustrating a world of gods, bulls, and athletes entangled in rites of passage. And here, long buried beneath courtyard stones, a half-faded mural speaks louder than those lost to fire, a composition of colors enduring volcanic aftermath to tell stories now only hinted at by swirling paint. This treasure trove of half-truths and what might have beens stirs excitement among modern-day Sherlocks of antiquity, eager to tie together bits of data into a coherent narrative. Was this destruction, widely debated, gradual eclipsing vibrant culture, or a bloated bureaucratic machine grinding down over generations? The world seems divided in speculation, and the soil remains steadfastly silent, unhelpfully sealing her secrets away in shrouds of obscurity. You, too, are part of this eager band of seekers, drawn into the dichotomy of truth and embellishment. The tactile feel of dirt and pottery fires your imagination. The investigative journey, itching the same spirit that excites armchair historians and academic experts alike, remains ongoing. And as you walk further along Akrotiri's ghostly streets, the knock of a spade against stone reveals more layers like unfolding pages time locked away. Echoes of life, fossilized in fleeting moments, extend hands across millennia. They offer handshakes of understanding, waving to intrepid wanderers willing to crouch beneath trellises of vines and dig for meaning in the deepest recesses of time's shadow. In this cold case of archaeology, the Minoans keep their most crafty mysteries just out of reach, dare us to wonder and wander. They invite dreams of storied island life long absent from sight but near at hand in spirit. The soil of Crete plays accomplice and jailer, full of broken tales waiting for those with the patience and imagination to listen past the whispering wind and beyond open debate into the hearth where linear fires were lit long ago. Your path now leads you through the fabled halls of the Palace of Knossos, a site that transcends simple historical interest, standing instead as a monumental symbol of Minoan civilization's ingenuity and architectural brilliance. Knossos commands respect with its sprawling complexitia, labyrinth designed to both awe and confuse its visitors, much like the stories swirling around its construction. Sunlight filters through weathered columns here, casting dancing shadows that seem to nod in agreement with legends of a mighty king and a beast entangled in myth. Imagine entering this grand palace, its corridors twisting and turning in ways that disorient modern geographers and inspired a mythological labyrinth, the nerve center of a civilization accustomed to straddling the fine line between order and chaos. You, a curious traveler navigating this intricate space, get a hint of Minoan life beyond pages and silent stories. The palace whispers tales of not merely power and governance, but domestic life filled with artistry and innovation, civilization committed to beautiful immortality through buildings expansive and uniquely functional. Historians assert the exact purpose of Knossos remains debated. Was it a royal residence, a ceremonial center, a hub of commerce, or perhaps even the synthesis of all? From excavations led by forward-thinking minds like Arthur Evans, it is clear the palace held more than merely one purpose. It was an epicenter, where life intermingled seamlessly with the transcendent priests and apprentices, traders and statespeople, all under the umbrella of its elaborate frescoed ceilings. Your footsteps echo against the slabs, tracing those who previously moved through these halls, mingling myths of a revered people who reached their zenith and sustained it across centuries. Yet this was no simple task. The Palace of Knossos underwent multiple reconstructions, speaking volumes about earthquakes that tugged persistently at its walls. The builders of Knossos perpetually danced with the earth beneath, architecture designed not only for grandeur but resistant against relentless natural whispers. Under the gaze of vibrant frescoes, which once adorned these halls with scenes of daily life and religious ceremony, imagine the artist's brush dancing across wet plaster, stories curving into permanence. Each mural possesses dual authority, both beauty and historical record, capturing details from the symbolic bull-leaping rituals, reflections of the sun god-graced landscapes, and everyday Minoans caught in moments of divine moments of their commitment to connectivity, humans to nature to the divine. The vibrant frescoes reveal a society in harmony with its world, celebrating both natural and supernatural realms, teetering between superstition and reality. Gaze at the fresco of the Prince of the Lilies, gold gleaming in a tunic vibrant as the spring, or the poignant blue ladies, who watch you through time with poised elegance, whispers soft as forget-me-nots across choral tones that nod proudly at centuries passing, seemingly without a blink in their eyes. Historians still argue about the meanings behind these visuals. Each hue teases the person gazing gan the culture they portray as richly textured. Were they secular symbols, mere murals, or messages from the divine views shared and indulged by the privileged? One can never dwell too long on the surface of these frescoes without wondering about the beliefs and realities they only glimpse, capricious storytellers holding their truth in almost words and curving patterns. And as you wander from chamber to chamber, past storerooms filled with oversized pithoi, storage jars, once brimming with olive oil or wine, you admire the practicality baked inside this enigmatic structure. Knossos served not simply as a home but as the pulsating heart of Minoan commerce. Intricate plumbing zigzags away, a marvel of antiquity demonstrating the unparalleled Minoan capacity for manipulating land and sea, rivaled by few in its time. Pausing there, among storied halls, you're tempted by tales woven by others who stand in awe of knotted wallpapers of kings and caveats. Beyond spires broken now with turmoil and trials, lies the distance whisper, what of Daedalus? What of the Minotaur? With mysteries plastered both on the walls and beneath flagstones where feet must dare to step truly to grasp the magic Knossos holds deep. Even amidst New Age's golden fade, lies that deep Minoan voice steadfast, softly lifting upon the Cretan breeze to lay legends and reality at your feet. Exploring these spectral colonnades, you join centuries of seekers drawn to its labyrinthine seductions, tracing intricacies that defy the mundane and invite dreams to wander far beyond the Hala Hall where stone and fantasy intertwine beneath the sunlit silence of ancient times. As you delve deeper into the storied ruins of Crete, you find yourself drawn to the enigmatic script known as Linear A, inscribed on clay tablets that have weathered time's trials with stoic silence. These scripts, dancing across baked surfaces, tantalize historians and linguists with their cryptic beauty. They invoke the same awe and curiosity as a secret yet to be told, an unbroken string of meaningful whispers, trapped in a language still waiting for its voice. Linear A exemplifies the strength and the mystery of Minoan society, an advanced civilization that managed its affairs with a written record system that remains undeciphered. Standing at the brink of understanding, you can almost feel the words beneath your fingertips, each etched character harboring murmurs, from an age where paperwork and parchment held power, akin to a passport through trade and governance alike. Although Linear B, adapted by the Mycenaeans, has been peeled back like an onion to reveal the administrative and economic pursuits of a later age, Linear A continues to jealously guard its secrets. Historians pore over these symbols, drawing parallels to hieroglyphs and cuneiforms, yet the translation eludes definitive understanding, leaving only a faint outline drawn by shared symbols and structures incomplete. You wonder, was Linear A more than mere mercantile records? Could it hold ritual prayers, poetry, edicts from palace wall to village center? Its stubborn silence provokes historians to argue relentlessly. Some believe it's nothing more than accounting records meant for the flow of trade grain, oil, or wine detailed in a ledger binding trade agreements tighter across sun-drenched seas. Others fancy it a repository of cultural wisdom, deep as Minoan frescoes and intricate as marble statuettes lost to Bronze Age mystery. Each relic of this script holds stories missing from our body of ancient knowledge, a Scandinavian saga that remains untranslated. And there you are, thinking of the scribes quilled by lamplight, their ink-stained hands moving deftly to manage chaos through written cultivation, a sepulchre not only of Minoan commerce, but a thread linking them intricately with neighbors in Egypt, Anatolia, and beyond. Trade was their lifeline, and Linear A may well be their handbook, detailing that artful dance of mutual gifting which kept the Aegean hum alive. Imagine those moments in quiet chambers under palatial ceilings, scribes hunched over symbol-strewn tablets with eyes steadfast on artisan consistencies, weaving reality and dream into clay that we lost and seeking gather like pearls yet unstrung. With every unearthed and unrolled tablet, new hopes emerge, yet history gently grounds expectations, teasing understanding with small revelations wrapped in bigger enigmas. The roots of this unbroken code extend beyond the Minoans to modern seekers fluent in computer algorithms and linguistic frameworks, eager to eavesdrop on conversations held centuries past. Computational models and comparative philology attempt to bridge time's gap, building possible interpretations, guesses tantalizing as they are vague. They explore syntactic fields we don't yet comprehend fully, emphasizing this age's tension between what we know and what we've almost understood. To continue exploring Linear A is to embrace a sort of academic limbo between ships' manifests unimaged, tales waiting within particles of time clinging beyond wars and windswept eras gone forward. What might be amongst those unknown refrains? Gleanings, perhaps, of Minoans who departed from myths and set milestones precursors and prequels of futures yet entwined. Thus, as the sun sets over Crete's rugged silhouette, scholars sit with eyes locked onto tables led with characters elusive yet beckoning, under Naxian blue sky that grazes walls shattered by history's wandering hand. You envision the silent hum of collective endeavors set forth by generations searching past myths beyond the labyrinth inner corridor to base a new symbiosis sunken bittersweet across the seasons and the echoes of time's labyrinthine pages. In this quiet quest, the truth encoded within Linear A waits patiently, its unveiled secrets still softly spoken beneath a well-worn lid pressed shut by centuries of human curiosity and ambition. Moving deeper into the world of the Minoans, your senses are drawn to the vibrant, haunting beauty of their frescoes. These iconic works of art serve as windows into an ancient civilization, their vivid colors and expressive scenes offering glimpses of a culture rich in ritual, nature, and societal nuance. With paint applied onto wet lime plaster, these masterpieces became part of the walls they adorned, binding stories into the very fabric of Minoan life. You can almost feel the history in each brushstroke, the artistry reflecting not just aesthetic desires but the worldviews and ideals of a storied people. Inside the labyrinthine hallways of palatial estates like Knossos and Phaistos, the frescoes sing in bright tones of blues, reds, and golds depicting bull-leaping athletes, flora, fauna, and divine figures immersed in sacred rites. Their vibrancy dazzles your eyes as you imagine these walls alive with drama and dynamism, stories alive in hues that hold time at bay, capturing unspoken hopes and unique perceptions of beauty. Yet beneath every depiction lies an undercurrent of mystery, as if they possess secrets ready to unfold on closer inspection. The frescoes invite you to decipher not just artistry, but pieces of Minoan life deeply interwoven with their environment. Scenes of lush landscapes inhabited by sinuous plants and fluid depictions of marine life speak to the Minoans' harmonious relationship with nature. You can hear the whisper of wind-rustled trees beneath Cretan skies as waves gently lap against rocks, evoking the surrounding seas that sustained their culture and faith, forming the spine beneath the candied surface. Yet, these paintings don't just tell tales of idyllic harmony, they juxtapose with themes of control and human achievement. Look no further than the iconic Prince of the Lilies fresco, adorned with a possible crown, chest puffed in confident stride amidst an aura of floral power. Here, the Minoans hint at monarchic thresholds or an elite, deeply in sync with cycles and duties of a realm where natural bounty flavored bureaucracy. As you move through these vivid corridors, consider the enigmatic bull-leaping frescoes. They capture the imagination with acrobatics frozen in Mosona dance between humans and the formidable bull, holding connotations ranging from sport to sacrificial rite. Was it an elite pastime or a religious rite seeking divine favor? Historians remain divided on the fresco's implications, debating whether it represents ritualistic potency or a celebration of human daring, fueled by adrenaline at odds with the peace-loving Minoan stereotype. While mainstream historical narratives often focus on their harmonious relationship with nature, fringe historians speculate about darker undercurrents. Could these frescoes point to less visible aspects of Minoan life, such as societal hierarchies or even hidden conflict? Were the artistic flourishes masks covering flaws, fears, and eventual unraveling in the wake of climatic and human events? The ancient brushstrokes beg these questions, leaving answers as elusive as they are tantalizing. Each fresco, in its silent vividness, carries an elegy of beauty and decay, relying on the strength and integrity of pigments mixed from minerals, earth, and plants. They speak across generations, a testament to Minoan resilience against ahistorical amnesia, with nature's indelible hues offering testaments from millennia past. Colors hold stories, dialogues without words, wrapped from viewings through velvet lenses into the broader legacy that survives in sherds and spirits, unspent and whole. So, as you ponder these painted chronicles, remember that beyond their surface beauty lies the Minoan world complex, nuanced, and ripe with stories still lingering like unfinished tapestries at the hands of time's weavers. Each artful piece holds its own mysteries, some woven tight and others flowing free, whispering secrets that transcend frescoed walls, painting a portrait of an island culture both dazzling and doomed-fated to become what they rendered, striking ornate echoes of a world where artistry flirted fluently with ephemerality. These halls, frozen moments in Minoan life, beckon to modern researchers with their delicate yet defiant persistence. The frescoes, with their layers of vibrant pigment, call you to explore the ever-vivid stories nestled within the very heart of this civilization and eternal conversation between past and present, painting whispers of who they were beneath the surface, waiting for those who come seeking to listen and see. As you wander further into the world of the Minoans, your journey veers into the realm of myth and legend. You find yourself entangled in the enigma of the Minotaur, a creature both monstrous and tragic, born from passion and deception. This hybrid of man and beast, perhaps more than any fresco or tablet, symbolizes the labyrinthine narrative of Minoan culture, blending history and allegory into one sprawling, convoluted tale. According to legend, this terrifying creature, half man, half bull-dwelled in the recesses of a great labyrinth beneath Knossos, a complex maze confounding all who dared enter. The Minotaur's existence was the price for Queen Pasiphae's infidelity, mothered by the deception of Poseidon in response to King Minos' stubborn defiance. Here, the intersections of divine punishment and human folly converge into a story with layers as deep as the shadows that fill these mythical corridors. In this dance of narrative and symbolism, the Minotaur stands not just as a figure of terror, but as a metaphor for the fears and complexities of Minoan society. Just as the labyrinth itself can represent the vast, tangled expanse of the palace at Knossosan architectural wonder, reflecting both ingenuity and overreaching ambitions, so too might the Minotaur represent the darker sides of human nature. Did the Minoans see their own societal challenges reflected in this legend, a cautionary tale about the costs of hubris and unchecked desire? As with any good myth, historians delight in debating the layers behind the Minotaur's tale. Was it a purely moral allegory, a reflection on the consequences of indulging our basest instincts? Or might it encapsulate something broader, capturing the tension within Minoan society between its peaceful veneer and the underlying turbulence, both natural and human-made? Some scholars even suggest the Minotaur's mythical imprisonment masks societal truths about power dynamics and sacrificing an intermediary between realms, tied eternally to social order and chaos buried within. In this curious mosaic of narrative threads, you find hints that bulls themselves held sacred significance to the Minoans. The reverence for these powerful creatures runs rampant through their art, a testament to both physical admiration and spiritual adoration. To paint bulls prominently alongside gods may signify the creature's dual nature, at once worshipped and feared, representing strength in the divine order and the untamed chaos lurking therein. The labyrinth, meanwhile, serves as an evocative symbol in its own right, weaving through the corridors of myth and memory alike. When you pause at Knossos and overlook its crumbling walls and vast corridors, envision Theseus navigating the maze with Ariadne's thread in hand, a thread not just guiding his path, but symbolizing the wish to unravel predestined fate. The great structure remains a marvel of both complexity and ingenuity, perhaps not the literal home of a monster, but certainly capable of provoking introspection on how deeply humanity's potential for brilliance intertwines with their cryptic capability for darkness. Through this lens, the story of the Minotaur and his labyrinthine home takes on new layers. Could it be that King Minos, a figure as steeped in myth as history, was less a villain set on sacrifice and more a ruler grappling with inherited burdens, a true reflection of civilization itself, caught in nature's games? Or might he be a figure encapsulating the natural urge for dominance, control over not just land and beasts, but fate and order itself? By stepping inside this timeless tale, you see the fluidity with which myths adapt to the contours of cultural shifts, while also highlighting the shared anxiety of ancient peoples catching up with change's currents. The Minotaur speaks across thousands of years, bridging gaps not just through time or geography, but through the universal truth that within humanity lies a labyrinth. We venture along amid shadows, the age-old tension between creation and destruction, known and unknown. Delve further into these myths, and you feel the heavy cloak of history cradling the weight of stories not yet fully told, facets waiting beyond stone intensity to decipher in reflections of water and dream. And therein lies the Minotaur, the labyrinth, and the soul of Minoan enigma, triad of elements that draw you deeper into their history and beyond, delaying certainty with promises of curious revelations yet to surface from beneath murky pasts. When you finally step back from these narratives, you take away both the heavy mystique and the playful wink within these ancient stories, a reminder that legends, like cities built upon myths and truths entwined, are as vivid in their imaginary as they are grounded in reality. Timeless figures speak from between hidden walls and starlit memories, holding keys forever to our fascination with what once was or might have been. Imagine yourself standing on the rocky landscape of Crete, where serene hills and valleys extend toward the horizon, but beneath this picturesque calmness lies a landscape quivering with geological tension, echoed in the occasional tremor that shakes the mosaics of this ancient world. Earthquakes, those random judgments of the earth, have long whispered through Minoan history. They reveal another layer of vulnerability, an invisible hand that both built and shattered the Minoan world. You feel a subtle vibration beneath your feet, barely there in reality, but powerful enough in the past to shift the stones of palaces and topple walls built with human ambition. These tremors were a regular, albeit unpredictable, feature of life for the Minoans, their civilization perched on the volatile geological juxtapositions of the Aegean Sea. The same tectonic activity that gifted Crete with fertile soil and rugged beauty held a darker potential, the power to undo the very progress it once nurtured. Narratives of these ancient earthquakes paint a dual tale. On one side, they represent the vibrancy of rebirth, in renewing the soil and sparking innovation as peoples adapted to survive in this dynamic landscape. On the other hangs the story of destruction, leaving communities scrambling to rebuild and recalibrate amid ruins turned to rubble by nature's caprice. The Minoans' relationship with earthquakes remains inscrutable, yet archaeologists have uncovered telltale signs in formidable architectural adaptations. You wander through the remnants of their fortified structures, seeing evidence of engineering that was far in advance of its time, a testament to the Minoans' recognition of their seismic environment. Flexible construction techniques introduce anti-seismic measures, with buildings featuring wooden crossbeams that allow for some give, mitigating the shock waves that roll unpredictably through the ground. Accounts of major earthquakes punctuate the archaeological record, suggesting incidents where palace complexes sought reinvention with each seismic wave. Historians argue incessantly whether these earthquakes were sporadic detractors or if they played a hand in the ultimate decline of Minoan society. Was their eventual collapse due to cumulative stress from repeated quakes that strained increasingly fragile networks of trade and infrastructure? The constant threat of quakes instilled a sort of seismic resilience into Minoan life. Their resolve to rebuild and adapt speaks of a people accustomed to a paradoxical existence, balancing between stability and sudden upheaval, a delicate dance akin to those depicted in their dynamic art, enshrined in the rituals of the grand palaces they crafted over generations. You reflect on the tremors, imagining the sky darkening with dust and plaster as floors tilted and ceilings groaned. In the confusion, echoes of urgent conversations, arisen merchants scrambling to secure their goods, artists salvaging works of nascent beauty from collapsing studios. Yet, this wasn't merely a tale of despair. These seismic stirrings sparked creativity and renewal alongside anxiety. Overcoming nature's challenges required profound intellectual and technological responses, and evolutionary narrative played out in plaster, fresco, and stone. Historians and geologists also debate the impact of such seismic activities on Minoan religion and mythology. Did these quakes engender a spiritual interpretation within them, coaxing out pantheonic imaginations of gods controlling earthly resonance? Were the stories inscribed in their myths, rooted in such titanic upheavals, viewed as divine whispers or warnings woven into daily piety? Beyond the practical, there's a hint of universal storytelling in the Minoans' resilience earthquakes as ultimate metaphor for constant change, evoking balance and transformation. We begin to understand their respect for forces greater than their civilization that both gave form to luxurious arts and shattered their opulent cities with indiscriminate frequency. Thus, you walk through the aftermath, recognizing both destruction's toll and the aspiration for continuity, where freedom from fear is scribed into architecture's generous silhouettes. The flexibility of their designs softly echoes a truth. Life, much like architectural splendor, would be unpredictable yet beautiful, resilient under the tectonic heart, continuously providing homes for those persistent to endure challenges fetched from beneath forgotten seabed stones. As the sun sets behind the cloud-like waves that now lap gently against Cretan shores, seismologists and antiquarians continue measuring and debating where nature's aftershocks scribe resilience couched in destruction, leaving layered memories of complexity sunk into the earth. These echoes and the records they mold in scripts and structures alike ensure that the Minoan understanding of survival in the face of natural uncertainty proves more than mere ruin. It becomes a timeless story of renewal, underscoring the enduring vestiges of their mystery-laden legacy. Now, as you sail your imagination across azure waters rimmed by distant coasts, you grasp the vastness of the Minoan influence throughout the Mediterranean. The Minoans were not merely island dwellers, they were masterful mariners, weaving their way through the interlocking routes of what we'd now label as an extensive network of trade and cultural exchange. Their influence rippled outward across the region like circles straying from a stone thrown into the sea, intertwining with the threads of other ancient civilizations. The Minoans' expertise in seafaring set the stage for this broad-reaching connectivity. Picture it: sleek, ornately painted ships cutting gracefully through the water, laden with and destined for goods both exotic and familiar. Their fleets traversed distances with the kind of assured skill matched by few others of their time. Navigating by stars and instinct, they linked not only Crete but also numerous ports in the Levant, Cyprus, Egypt, and the Anatolian coast. The Aegean Sea served as their grand highway. Through these maritime ventures, the Minoans established themselves as key players in a vibrant web of commerce. Their swift ships carried cargoes of precious resources, Cretan olive oil, finely crafted ceramics, and intricately engraved artifacts, each item a whisper of the island's rich offerings. These were exchanged for raw materials like copper and tin or luxury fish and aromatic goods delicacies that fired the imaginations and taste buds of ancient gentry in far-flung cities. As you explore this interconnected world, consider how these exchanges carried more than goods. The Minoans also disseminated cultural values and ideas. Through trade, their art, religious concepts, and societal structures mingled with those of neighboring regions. You can almost hear the chatter of languages blending in marketplaces where Minoan traders haggled and gestured, striking deals amid a tapestry of people knit by diplomacy as much as commerce. It's here that debate flourishes amongst scholars exploring the depth of Minoan influence, stretching across vast geographical distances. Some argue the Minoans were purely economic merchants, while others suggest they played pivotal roles in shaping cultural and political landscapes throughout the coastal societies with whom they traded. Did they subtly infuse elements from their culture within those they engaged, planting seeds that would later blossom into diverse artistic styles or religious motifs? You picture Egyptian scribes noting Minoan designs in palace records, Cypriot bronzework influenced by Cretan patterns, and Levantine mythologies possibly enriched by shared concepts. It could be this free-flowing exchange helped shape the Bronze Age's unique art and architecture, a legacy surviving amid the ruins of time-lost citadels. One cannot overlook the competitive nature of these relationships. Among potential rivals like the Mycenaeans, who came to dominate tales of Homeric epics, the Minoans maintained a balanced harborage, sometimes allies, other times adversaries. Much as they embraced the sea's shared opportunities, they also faced its tempests, the same waters welcoming and treacherous in tandem. Amidst this interconnectedness, the sophisticated network bundled together narrates another Minoan strength: their adaptability. Through the courage of trade and negotiation, they mitigated the precariousness of environmental unpredictability with the broader stability offered by diplomatic engagement, each connection forged by their merchants, adding resilience to the island nation. Stroll through this lively maritime quilt and sense how their endeavors in trade elevated their presence beyond physical borders, sustaining them during volatile periods. The links they formed in marble and fleece persist beyond dire shakes and waves, encapsulating the Minoans' remarkable ability not merely to survive, but to thrive within a constantly shifting geopolitical climate. In this colorful interplay, the band's notes echo, shouting what remains unwritten along harbors. Minoans, navigating ancient seas, were not mere traders but torchbearers of culture. These graceful ferrymen of thought and tradition enabled a legacy felt long after the final flame of their collapse, ensuring their influence still treads these crystalline waters. As daylight dims on these imagined sea paths, return to Crete with an understanding. Their legacy thrives within every port touched, leaving salt-kissed offerings to history's shores, a testament to the power of human connection across the expanse of sea, sky, and time. As you delve deeper into the alluring intricacies of Minoan society, you encounter the delicate question: was this civilization truly as peaceful and idyllic as many have suggested? From the outside looking in, the Minoans appear to have crafted a society immune to internal strife, a harmony swaying with nature and careful artistria, utopia sheltered by oceanic embrace. Yet, as is often the case in history, what appears on the surface may hide a more complex reality beneath. Mainstream historical perspectives frequently portray the Minoans as a civilization that thrived without the need for extensive military fortifications or armies. Their palaces, including the illustrious Knossos, lacked defensive walls, telling tales of a people more invested in cultural exchange than military conquest. Artifacts and frescoes celebrating nature, goddesses, and rituals suggest an advanced, art-focused society that cherished communal life over conflict. However, historians still argue about the nature of this presumed peace. Could it be that the Minoans, residing on an island blessed with natural barriers, simply had fewer threats necessitating overt displays of militarism? Or perhaps the evidence of warfare and unrest has yet been found, obscured by the sands of time or the focus on a more refined image. The lack of direct evidence of war does not conclusively paint a peaceful picture, but rather opens the page to speculation about alternative conflict resolution methods the Minoans might have employed. Were their societal structures robust enough to prevent discord, weaving a cohesive culture that favored negotiation and alliance building? Historians consider whether conflicts were handled diplomatically, evident in their vast trade networks and cross-cultural exchanges that reduced the need for physical confrontation. Wandering through these contemplations, you encounter the cultural myths interwoven with Minoan history, symbolic representations of power dynamics within their art, where figures are often depicted in postures of balance, negotiation, and harmony with surroundings, suggest narratives woven from cooperation rather than coercion. Could the omnipresent bull-leaping ceremony, seen in their vibrant frescoes, embody a symbolic battle, a ritualistic outlet expressing aggression safely held within cultural fabric? Even adding layers to this, the notion of a peaceful society can be critiqued within the context of potential economic disparities. In this civilization, abundant in material wealth, did tension simmer beneath the gilded surface of social classes held apart by unspoken divides, or did robust trade networks ensure prosperity was shared, fostering internal cohesion? The peaceful veneer perhaps concealed the very human, very relatable threads of societal friction inevitable within any community. Decline often comes not from single catastrophic events, but as the culmination of long-standing pressures. Trade spills, climatic changes, and the encroachment of Mycenaeans may have slowly frayed the edges of peace, sending subtle ripples through Minoan social structures. Each thread tells a story diplomatic waltz mixed with shadows of divergence, resilience, and eventual change. Another possible hidden layer might be found in the relative influences waiting outside Crete's shores. As trading partners and neighbors, did the Minoans maintain peace through strategic relationships, embedded in the wider Mediterranean tapestry that substituted force with shrewd pacts and passionate politics? Perhaps undercurrents of balance within treaties, rather than conflict, lay behind the celebrated peace, allowing their maritime and cultural endeavors to navigate flourishingly. While the pages of history thus far highlight a society committed to peace through art, commerce, and architecture, their inherently human narrative suggests Minoans likely dealt with conflicts subtly, quietly, woven into the complex lattice that distinguished their civilization. Herein lies a world where gods whispered and people sought harmonies more foundationally binding than brokenness sought often otherwise. With every fresco and relic uncovered, a fresh perspective emerges, offering room to negotiation, anticipation, and introspection. Was woven deeper into the story of this supposedly idyllic culture. Were there uncharted territories of discontent beneath lilies and labrices, tides of creative will crafting solutions unpenned, except among discreet conversations and silent exchanges? Gazing beyond walls unfortified, we realize peace carries many layers in life's broader mosaic, woven not simply by overt decisions, but by the subtleties that accompany human beings through history, as in Crete. This mythic balance between harmony and hidden tension draws us ever inward, challenging the assumptions that paint ancient societies with sweeping strokes, inviting curiosity into the nuanced, often quieter echoes of the past. With the curtains of time drawn back, you find yourself standing at the juncture where two titanic cultures intersect, a pivotal point in history, marked by the transition of Minoan dominance to the ascendancy of the Mycenaeans. This epoch signifies not merely a simple swapping of cultural influences, but a confluence marked by exchanges, adaptations, and, inevitably, the reshaping of civilizations, a dance of decline and transformation. At this crossroad, you notice the palimpsest of history, as landscapes of Minoan frescoes layer under Mycenaean austerity. This exchange wasn't immediate, nor was it uniformly disruptive. Instead, it manifests as a gradual simmering of cultural osmosis. Scholars debate intensely whether the Mycenaean takeover was one of violent conquest or a subtler form of dominion, where blending gradually over time, subdued Minoan essence and rewired it into the fabric of this new patriarchal society. Historians revisit this decline with an eye toward pottery styles and trade remnants that linger in the archaeological strata. The elegance of Minoan ceramics took stylistic turns under Mycenaean influence. The sharp, utilitarian design began edging out the naturalistic grace that once captured the lushness of Minoan identity. Yet, Minoan influence is still palpable in the early Mycenaean occurrences of intricate art, leaving scholars to debate the extent of continuity versus divergence. As you gazed into these frescoed walls, how much Minoan influence extended into Mycenaean culture through religious rites, domestic styles, or shared mythology? Were the stories of gods and labyrinths disseminated among a new generation of people not simply wiped away but embraced and rechristened under different kings and agendas? Consider the administrative evolution symbolized by the deciphering of Linear B tablets. Here, the Mycenaean attempts to catalog order in economy and governance of this newly inherited realm present ample curiosity. Mycenaean bureaucrats, inheriting the spine of Minoan systems stretching into Crete courses, meticulously transcribe onto clay what they proclaim to be a further act of domestication of this complex trade network via controlled articulation. Yet, remnants of a quieter, more enigmatic script linear persist in Minoan decline. Historians continue to puzzle over its undisguised allusion toward an identity that remained quietly within this shifting sandstorm of cultural redefinition. Arguably, this wasn't merely a cultural turnover, more a bending, an adaptation where identities refract through evolutionary change as much as conscious continuity. Within this melded frame, imagine remnants of Minoan religion morphing into a newer mosaic, where deities breathe anew under altered narratives. The figurines and symbols adorning hearths across changing palaces subtly ingrained themselves into the Mycenaean spiritual compass-broadened sphere, where blending didn't simply erase, but reverberated impressions of Minoan spiritual insight. The gods themselves, perhaps, exchanged ambrosia with stories of Titanic, might replaced by whispers of bulls and sea-bound journeying. Historians still argue whether Minoan resilience was silently etched into Mycenae's loud triumph, whether even in seeming decline, Minoans left a spirited mark embedded within evolution's tide sown into myths proclaimed, whispered into the hymns sung by the sea. For whatever faced exposing Minoan fall, drove also the absorbance of lessons deeply encoded. In each artifact unearthed, among pottery piers peeking from freshly turned soil, sit questions mirrored in people treading through blended history show. Closely does the Mycenaean script intertwine with that which preceded? Did their mythos drink deeply from Minoan culture, crafting legends like Ariadne's thread both elusive and entangled? As you examine these gradual shifts, perceive them not simply as ends or beginnings, but as continuations, ripples expanding through time where cultural bellwethers change course amid unfolding tides. This evolution records the marvel of human society, the stitching together of disparate styles and traditions into tapestries both known and new, overlapping so that each thread stitches toward a shared fabric suspended between Crete and Mycenae. In standing on this crux of historical transition, where Minoan colors blend into Mycenaean depictions, you take solace, knowing they forge connections that persist across time's ocean, where arcane remembrances murmur through in weathered tones. These echoes subtly emphasize that the convergence of cultures, marked as decline or enlightenment, carries complexity nuanced in textures that compose the heart of history's timeless ascent. As you journey further into the entwined histories of the Minoans and the Mycenaeans, you begin to uncover how the latter infused new life into the waning Minoan world. This is a story of cultural exchange and transformation, where the ebb of Minoan influence gave way to the rise of the Mycenaean ethos, a tide turning not through the sheer force of conquest alone, but through blending, borrowing, and, at times, rivalry. Within this period of transition, life on Crete harmonized Mycenaean robustness with the lingering elegance of Minoan artistry. Imagine the rocky landscape dotted with new Mycenaean settlements, where stonemasons and artisans, once trained in the Minoan tradition, now adapted to a changing aesthetic. The architecture gradually shifted, adopting elements of Mycenaean practicality fortified acropolises, with commanding views over the besieged seas, replacing Minoan openness with a more guarded sensibility. Walking through these renewed settlements, you notice how disciplines once honed under Minoan influence now interweave with Mycenaean vigor. The hallmark of this intercultural infusion is reflected in pottery. Cretan vessels and pottery, once detailed with lively scenes of flora and fauna, display a sterner style, though no less intricate. Mycenaean motifs and patterns assert themselves through spirals, meanders, and geometric elements, attesting to both cultural continuity and innovation. The human heart of this cross-cultural blend beats lively within the strands of mythology and religion woven anew in these times of transformation. The gods revered by the Mycenaeans drew from Minoan spiritual iconography, adopting and adapting divinities like the mother goddess. She metamorphosed into Demeter, embodying fertility and sustenance, quietly echoing now in a land of fresh harvests and revered rituals. And what of the societal dynamics this transition engendered? Historians probe ancient texts and archaeological sites, questioning how Minoan ideas of governance, perhaps less centralized, melded into the hierarchical kingships favored by mainland Mycenaeans. Might princely networks or trade-oriented guilds have found their equivalencies in the systematized Mycenaean palatial structure? Integrated within this fusion is a narrative suggesting not annihilation but symbiosis, a nuanced marriage of styles both diplomatic and dynamic. This restructuring laid the groundwork for the famed Mycenaean linear Baborn, of administrative necessity but reflective of a past, documented with Minoan brushstrokes, now reinterpreted into a pragmatic script. Nevertheless, alongside this administrative heritage echoes yet undeciphered, Linear A languishes still in the shadowed silence of forgotten rooms, quietly resisting time's pull toward collective narratives of quantified control. As these elements wove together, new mythologies emerged, forged in the crucible of this blended cultural flame. The heroic exploits later recounted in the Homeric epics sprouted roots in this soil tilled by Minoan imagination. These tales of gods and men became vehicles for themes of heroism and Fatea coexistence, layered elegantly atop Minoan concepts, reimagined amid Mycenaean ascendancy. Here, the Minotaur myths mingled with memories of divine favor, broadening the architectonic landscapes populated by wandering heroes and ladies veiled in moonlit prophecy. The Mycenaeans did not erase the Minoans. Rather, through journeyed forks and fronds of hybrid form, they absorbed aspects of Minoan civilization, giving voice to forms repurposed yet reclaimed. In this paradox of preservation and reinvention, what seemingly faded breathed anew, their remnant lingering cast as weighted blossom entwined in the fingers of cultures connecting where waters still roam. In this shared narrative, understand not only what was lost, but what enhanced the broader spectrum of emerging civilization, a legacy reaching beyond the confines of simple stone and clay, yet sculpted through the poetics of evolving lands and shredded seas. The descendants of these intertwined figures walked within fresher dimensions, still retaining echoes enriched by bonds of shared prayers, raised horizons, and navigated currents testament to humanity's brave blending into outcomes unforeseen. For you, standing at the crossroads of such remarkable cultural metamorphosis, highlights the enduring resiliency of societies adjoined by more than necessity. They embarked on composed voyages through shared space, time, weaving destinies that illuminate shared beginnings stitched into the wrinkles of ages past. As you delve into the intricate relationship between the Minoans and the Mycenaeans, the spotlight shifts to their written legacy, specifically, Linear Ba, two-tiered narrative that unfolds through bureaucracy and language. Linear B stands as a testament to the Mycenaeans' ability to adapt and refine the systems they inherited from the Minoans. It offers glimpses into their administrative prowess, transforming Minoan inspiration into a tool for governance and control. Linear B, deciphered in the 1950s, marks one of the earliest known forms of Greek writing. It borrowed from the undeciphered Linear A, transposing Minoan script into a language suited for the Mycenaean ruling elite's needs. As you push open the metaphorical doors of Mycenaean palaces, places like Pylos and Mycenae find these clay tablets arranged not as artistic works, but as catalogs of administrative efficiency. The deciphered records reveal a world of inventory lists, tax records, and allocations of labor. The Mycenaeans employed Linear B to manage the intricacies of their burgeoning state, a kingdom extending its influence over the Aegean and inheriting the commercial routes pioneered by their Minoan predecessors. Here, scribes meticulously annotated goods, such as grain converted to bread and oil for anointing kings, reminding us of a disciplined society where precision reigned next to divinity and fate. Historians argue over the extent of Mycenaean control alleged by these records. Were these ledger books solid evidence of centralized rule akin to modern notions of government, or more, a reflection of fervent record keepers attempting to bring an array of interrelated productions under a structured wing? Scholars debate whether these clay tablets denote a top-down order or indicated a broader, complex network reaching across the Aegean. Lines drawn by both seafaring ambition and pragmatic necessity. Within the litany of textual evidence, however, Linear B fails to weave grand narratives or tell tales of the heart. The Homeric epics would unfurl these timeless stories centuries later. Linear B offers little poetry, little cultural tapestry. It remains focused on the salt and sweat of daily economics and royal affluence. Yet, in doing so, it encapsulates the rhythm of a burgeoning civilization. Empires aren't just built on laurels of heroics, but the paramount and punctual dispatching of olive oil exports. Nonetheless, curiosity piques us there, more buried beneath the transactional surface. Might there have been accounts recounting larger cultural themes obscured by time, or tabulations of gifts offered, one-fifth diplomacy conducted somewhere between sigils stamped and decrees rolled edgewise? Linear B, though far from complete in scope, provides compelling glimpses of the Mycenaean world, mapping out social hierarchies and economic dependencies that enabled societal growth. It delineates a society wherein each transaction parallels mythology yet to write itself. Here, kings straddle the line between figures of conquest and commonality, reflecting both Minoan influences and Mycenaean advancement in how political and spiritual authority might leverage. Meanwhile, Linear A, its enigmatic predecessor, retains its allure, a silent poet next to Linear B's simplicity. As Linear B unfolds and chronicles much about Mycenaean society, the tantalizing mystery of Linear A still holds sway, inviting imaginations around what ancient Mediterranean life it might yet unveil. A puzzle piece suspenseful in absence, it challenges lateral thinkers to make dry lists leap to life or hope that hidden rhythms seep from their quiet narratives. Intrigued by what glimmers beyond Linear B's tablatures, explore the hemispheres laden by text, yet unarticulated in vision. Breakthroughs hint at stories unfulfilled by lines of inventory, awaiting nascent visions of distant waltzes of discovery unsolved. Whether illuminations reveal more than wares ordered and arrangements whispered, is less the journey's end than begins, yet unanswered cries through Aegeanic glances from unseen ports betwixt kingdoms, carrying beyonder what emerges brushed by dusted index fingers, mooring deeper in tongues unsinged by years esteemed. As day fades over stony Mycenaean sites, perhaps then Linear B's true testament isn't what it unquestionably expressed, but what it alluded to, connected continuum routing structures evolved from age-old shadowed voyages, a curious link from past to poetic, now tracing how stone-penned markets convey agelessness, lasting beyond written word and melodic measured list. Thus, as you touch history through tablet imbued with rain's memory, recall that even in memoranda's crypt hand-scrawl faint, knowledges of vast lives stretch undrawn lines, scribbled, recognize hope, drawn reaching far beyond labyrinth, unspoken into families' quartered lands once walked, now singing, ever silent. Imagine standing on the sun-drenched shores of Crete, watching as the golden glow of early morning spills over the Aegean Sea, turning the water into liquid light. This picture-perfect scene belies the complex and challenging economic network. The Minoans navigated a web spun from the necessity and brilliance of trade mastery over a vast and unpredictable ancient economy. Their very survival hinged not just on the beauty of their art or myths, but on the intricate dance of commerce that circumnavigated the known world. The Minoans weren't just accomplished artisans, they were sophisticated traders, offering commodities that were both luxurious and essential. Olive oil, ceramics, and textile goods flowed from their ports like a tangible stream of civilization traversing the waters. Each item was painstakingly crafted and packed for journeys across faraway lands, from Egypt to Anatolia, guided by the skilled hands and keen eyes of Minoan seafarers. Their ships, well-constructed and capable of braving the sea's temperaments, became the lifelines of this civilization. But their economy wasn't just built on export. The Minoans were astute in their imports as well. They sought copper from Cyprus, and the precious tin needed to create bronze weapons and tools, a testament to how deeply they were entrenched in the Bronze Age's technological landscape. Exotic goods brought back in the holds of their ships adorned Minoan courts and inspired artisans, feeding back into the creativity that defined their cultural zenith. Among historians, a discourse arises. What role did these trade exchanges play in shaping not just the Minoan economy but their civilization as a whole? Did this extensive trading prowess infuse into the Minoan society a complexity required to manage such wealth, as well as the means to influence and absorb the cultures of trading partners? The linear scripts unravel some aspects, depicting trade items counted meticulously, capturing snapshots of a day's wares, and leaving tantalizing impressions of broader trade agreements. Yet amidst this flourishing system was an underlying fragility. The Minoans' dependence on maritime trade meant that their economy was vulnerable to external disruption, political shifts, or the very natural catastrophes of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions that threatened safe passage. These factors were like waves themselves, invisible at times until they intersected, causing diverging tides to ultimately influence the grand narrative. As you behold the bustling scene, where goods are loaded and unloaded in Cretan ports, imagine the hum of activity. Merchants conversing in various tongues, the rhythmic clinking of amphorae being readied for transport, and scribes noting details onto clay tablets that whispered to traders of duties owed and exchanges expected. It's easy to see how such a vibrant economy could foster a social order that prizes adaptability and the maintenance of external relations. Historians still question the extent of this economic structure's collapse, aligning with the advent of the Thera eruption or the later Mycenaean influence. Nature, in its disruptive power, wielded a hand against fields and seas, upsetting the rhythms of maritime commerce. Were there safety nets, modes of adaptation employed by Minoans to navigate these economic storms, or did the unraveling threads of trade networks initiate cascading disruptions within Minoan society itself? This ceaselessly oscillating economy is part of what made the Minoans both captivating and vulnerable, epitomizing the delicate balance between prosperity and decline. Their economically rich marketplace was a space of vivid imagination, yet one laced with a constant undercurrent of uncertainty for what might lie beyond the horizon, secrets shrouded in salt-storied waves. As you listen to the echoes of trade winds across time, ponder this notion of economy not purely as the exchange of goods, but as the interchange of stories, myths carried alongside fabric, ideas embedded within the decoration of jugs and vases, tales whispered between traders over fiery-hearted goblets of wine. In these orchestrations of trade, you see more than market transactions. You see cultural exchanges, immortal connections between peoples separated by miles, yet joined in a shared maritime destiny. Crete, in its time, became not merely an island but a vibrant hub, a whirlpool of economic activity drawing in diversity and casting it across waters so each fragment spun back into the broader Mediterranean mosaic. With every gust captured in tasseled sails, the Minoan economy becomes a collage juxtaposing the beauty of human endeavor with nature's capriciousness, a tapestry woven with threads of ambition teetering the union of treasure and travesty, prosperity and uncertainty. Thus, as you scan the horizon where sky meets sea, inviting those thoughts into maritime specks, floating toward far-colored dusked lands, reflect on how fundamental, formidable trade mapped Minoan fate, not simply one civilization's livelihood, but the supplication of cultural legacy bound to tides that flow onward, threading every perfection into the loom where past porous exchanges cradle future's hold. As you continue exploring the vibrant world of Minoan trade, you're drawn to their exquisite ceramics and the unsuspecting role these creations played in the broader choral narrative of Minoan commerce. These artifacts, often overshadowed by frescoes and myths, were tangible testaments to the skill and creativity that flowed from the potter's wheel, a role not just decorative, but instrumental in the complex economic symphony holding together the fabric of Minoan society. Minoan ceramics dazzled with intricate designs and functionality, refined sharper than any Cretan sea breeze. Picture artisans, hunched over their whirling wheels, coaxing shapes from wet clay that would carry echoes of nature spirals like the ocean, flora patterns detailing local blooms, and marine life that gracefully swam even in the glazed finish of a pot. These were not mere household items. They were cultural ambassadors sent forth across the seas, speaking a universal language of artistry and craft. Across the Mediterranean, from the Levant to Egypt and Greek mainland, Minoan ceramics became highly prized commodities. Merchants downloading these finely painted pots into foreign marketplaces likely found eager hands and quick exchanges, proof of the allure and eternal appeal of Cretan craftsmanship. Beyond mere ornamentation, these pieces encapsulated the Minoan touch, reaching out as tentacles from a center of commerce, not only unlocking economic gateways but also pouring Minoan influence over all they touched. In the layered designs and precise forms, historians find clues to the trade links extending far beyond Crete's shores. Each shard unearthed from trading ports offers potential insights into how far Minoan influence reached and how deeply others desired their craftsmanship. Traces of Minoan pots in archaeological digs across the Mediterranean attest to vibrant trade networks, suggesting a sophisticated knowledge of supply and demand that transcends ages and anecdotes. Amid these strokes of color and ceramic, conflicts sometimes brewed competition among regions for scarcer resources, miscommunications made across cultural divides, and the inherent fragility of economies so reliant on maritime routes sensitive to the era's many potential disturbances and delays. Consider, too, the symbolism within this artistry. Historians still unpack the layers of meaning baked into these ceramic designs. Was the spiral motif merely an aesthetic choice, repeating aesthetically pleasing forms, or did it tie into deeper cultural or religious symbolism? Might the creatures they depicted tell stories not only of local ecology but of mythological significance, echoing narratives shared by traveling merchants, finding their networks now fired and glazed on bowls and amphorae? Observers note that in their ceramic wares lived both genius and Genrean improvisational flair, indicating not just supply and demand, but inventive interchanges alive across cultures. Local styles incorporating foreign ideas and vice versa imbue these artifacts with layers of narrative, tangible tapestry of interconnected societies trading more than goods, but stories and symbols woven beneath the lustrous glaze. The Minoans were not merely exporters. They absorbed influences reflected back in their own pottery. Each piece offers a rebounded glimpse of the elsewhere designs, hinting at cultural exchanges where imprinted circles matched distant counterparts, and leaf motifs prompted codas resounding to foreign soils. You find echoes of Egyptian geometry, perhaps, or Anatolian shapes, foreign whispers, suitably woven into the Minoan aesthetic like musical counterpoint. Yet, Beyond the market's tango and rhythmic exchanges of economic gain, ceramics held everyday significance back on Minoan soil. A simple jug tells tales of life's ordinary. In a show, olive oil was poured, meals were shared, or newly fermented wine was tasted. In every domestic drama, a Minoan household held the world in its dishes, bridging past with potential as artistry gave form to function. Standing among these wares, spinning them cautiously in your hand as you would across history's horizons, to feel how such trades secured more than barter, or barter value, the human spirit, echoed and held these rounded forms among the open corridors and celebrated hearth. Each vessel contained layers of wine, olive oil, reflection, connection, a Minoan interlude captured in clay. Thus, the next time you wander across sunlit ruins or harborport vistas, pay homage to the simple ceramist piecing events within fired vessels guiding trade winds. The task wasn't mundane. They sculpted forms nourishing more than hunger or thirst, the ambitions, antics, and dreams conferenced through goods unsaid and needs well met, diving into endless passages across vast seas where Minoan gondolas and cargo flowed. In these preserved vignettes of ancient exchange, red whisperings carried forward, preserving echoes sculpted, embedded in ocean sway testaments formulating past across borders, into dusted songs constituting voices interknitting epochal eminence, far beyond transient whirlpools, called consummate ceramic truth. The enduring script marked toneless, but speaking histories, shared even among today's unsounded waves. As the cerulean waters of the Aegean gently lap against the rugged shores of Crete, the spiritual tapestry of the Minoans beckons you inward, weaving stories of gods and goddesses that anchored this ancient society. In the quiet corners of palaces and temples, you sense the reverence that bound Minoan religious life, a world where mythology intertwined seamlessly with daily existence, where offerings to the divine were made with thoughtful intricacy, both in grand rituals and private prayers. Imagine yourself wandering through verdant sanctuaries and shadowy caves, places of divine presence and worship nestled amidst lush hills and rocky crags. These are more than mere natural formations. They served as sacred theaters where human hopes met the whims of the gods. Archaeologists uncover shrines dedicated to potent deities, each embodying aspects of life crucial to Minoan continuity: fertility, crops, sea voyaging, and protection. In this intriguing pantheon, the mother goddess reigned supreme, her images imbued with fertility and sustenance, vital to ensuring the land's bounty and nurturing Minoan society's endurance. She was often depicted with serpents coiling around her arms, a symbol perhaps of rebirth and protection, a motif historians still interpret and recontextualize, debating whether these serpents embodied deeper cosmological insights or simple agrarian luck. There, hidden from modern eyes, lay the duality of divine worship, with rites echoed in frescoes across the island, from bull-leaping rituals symbolizing strength and renewal to sacrificial offerings that appeased the capricious gods demanding balance. By these acts, the Minoans sought harmony with the world they inhabited, and, perhaps, averted nature's wrath that they believed lashed out through earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, extensions of divine displeasure. With stories serpentine as their depicted divine creatures, this rich tapestry of deities, goddesses, and sacred bulls painted a reality where division between spiritual and mundane blurred. Historians still argue about specific gods' domains, and whether there were divine hierarchies, similar to later Greek pantheons, seeking through unearthed altars and votive offerings to understand how worship shaped both commerce and state. As you touch upon the ceremonial objects, find statuettes, libation vessels, and sacred dagger replicas. Each speaks to religious practice intertwined with lavish ceremonial offerings. Rites celebrated life's cyclical nature, from planting to harvest, birth to death, each sacred moment, a participatory drama with divine elements embedded deeply. You envision the devotion behind expertly engraved rings upon unyielding fingers. They bore the sigils of gods and goddesses trusted to stand between human vulnerability and uncertainties ruling above. Peering through the shadows of temple apertures, realize how these mysteries engaged not just in abstraction but equity among sexes. Minoan representations of women, oft glimpsed in flowing garments, suggest they might have held significant religious roles as priestesses or intermediaries, channeling divine intent efficience, standing at the crux of wisdom and ritual, bathed in luminous worship woven into daily life. As a participant audience in this numinous theater, reflected in ritual dances or sacrificed animals bleeding within consecrated ground, discern the Minoans' belief in magic's essence, connective force, permeating everything from the rippling seas to the plowed earth, a firmament where incantations held extraordinary weight in untempered faith. Even while many questions remain about the intricacies of Minoan belief and religious structure, consider how uniquely their spirituality wove into societal composites. Across altar and agriculture, prophecy and pottery, their gods spoke voices thread between directions casting forward beyond man-made ministrations, into rhythms unexplained yet profoundly, reassuringly familiar. Thus, roaming within this spiritual mosaic, glimpse the soul of Minoan society infused into elemental forces woven beyond iconography into myths that cradled both gods and mortal dreams in pictorial grace. Within these sheltered palisades of reverence, where belief sculpted paths until secrets return unfold, the essence of divinity in everyday life becomes increasingly tangible, reminding you that the sacred mosaic of Minoan worship, as discordant and layered as history itself, still sings faintly from temple stones, an eternal guardian of Crete's mythic landscapes. As you tread softly along the dust-laden corridors of ancient Crete, you stumble upon a realm where prophecy and divination danced intricately with daily life, weaving threads of fate into the Minoan tapestry. This world of oracles and omens, nestled among the rocks and sanctuaries, was held in reverence as a guide through life's uncertain waters. The Minoans, like mariners guided by starlit navigation, sought wisdom from those deemed able to glimpse the divinia tantalizing glimpse of the unknown, captured within sacred utterances. Imagine entering these hushed chambers where flickering lamplight sent shadows darting across frescoed walls. You find seers and priestesses, figures draped in flowing robes, murmuring incantations over vessels filled with sacred oils and herbs. It is in these entrusted sanctuaries that futures were revealed, whether voiced through riddles or painted with the clarity of a sunlit prophecy. The atmosphere is thick with expectation, as those gathered hang upon the cryptic words spun under God's auspice. Central to Minoan spiritual council were the practices centered upon caves, those enigmatic portals to otherworldly insights. Consider the significance of these grottos as spiritual wombs, birthing pathways into divine communication. They were natural conduits for wisdom delivered by Earth's rumbling prophetic force, perhaps resonating with the seismic thread running throughout Minoan landscapes. Historians debate the scale and prevalence of these prophecies within Minoan society. Was divination a service reserved for elites or rulers reliant upon celestial counsel to chart political trajectories, or did its finger extend into the layman's life, offering guidance on matters familial and agricultural? Such questions linger, wrapped in fragmentary evidence, suggesting that prophecy might have served the masses as well as the elite, casting its reach far beyond regal crests. In some sense, these prophetic practices shared kinship with those found across the ancient Mediterranean. The symbolism and rites lead chains of continuity, binding ancient Egyptian oracles and even later Greek Delphic traditions. Shared ceremonial threads span the sea, enhancing the network of mutual religious influence. This symbolic language, whispered across different lands, imbued the oracles with a potent and unexplained familiarity, echoing now through documentation both clay and faintly eroded. As you examine votive offerings unearthed from these sites, each artifact tells potential tales deeply tied to prophecy. Small effigies, engraved seals, and painted tablets carried messages, perhaps thanking the deities for positive foretellings or beseeching intervention amid times unresolved. The questions solicited from the divine reflect human concerns as age-old as the civilization itself, concerns of harvest bounty, safety on the seas, or affairs regarding hearth and home. Yet with divination comes inherent uncertainty. These winds of divine counsel, unpredictable at best, posed another ambiguous layer within Minoan existence. Might leaders have been swayed by ill-boding omens, foregoing expeditions or delaying crucial interactions because fate's colorful weaving appeared tempestuous? Did the threat of prophecies serve political broad undertones, subtly nudging changes amidst the charisma of persuasion steeped across power corridors? It is likely that prophecies and omens weaved both hope and disquiet through society, once reassuring through the offering of divine insight, yet stirring speculative quandaries upon which paths accepted lead onward into unpredictable outcomes, yet foreseen, yet unproven. Historians muse whether documented prophecies served indeed as historical pivots, or purely poetic exaggeration forged by Minoan imaginations in hindsight endeavors. Of course, prophecies offered but a momentary glimpse into future's kaleidoscope. They imparted guidance and challenge anew, echoing still across palatial steps and resounding within cave chambers. These practices rendered the world resonant, futurities turning within stone sanctum cycles where believers relied on what gods whispered most mysteriously, unpredictably sweet. Thus, standing beneath chiseled arch, resume listening between shadow-laden columns, acknowledge prophecy's role guiding past intentions, denominate destiny alike unto dreams fleeting, thwarting, flowing as chance lingering midst seaside breezes creased in future past. In accepting oracular ambiguity, lying meld entranced with uncanny faith, marvel ever dreamed tour guided by whisper swords breathed beyond filtering eyes, no doubt mythology's eternal chord, twined charms resounding across unfamiliar yet known domains, illuminating rites set within tomorrow's layered shell, now nestled among eternity-frosted waves unfurled. As you meander through the sunlit alleys and echoing chambers of Minoan civilization, you find yourself drawn into the contrast of their lives, juxtaposed between luxury and deprivation, a vibrant tapestry, rich with elegance, yet edged with earthy resilience. Here, the lofty opulence of palace life mingles intimately with the tactile reality of the everyday, painting a complex portrait of Minoan society's spectrum. Step into the grand halls of Knossos, where lavishness unfurls in the very architecture expansive courtyards, intricate frescoes adorning the walls like breaths of nature captured in paint, and storied halls filled with treasures from across the breadth of their trade networks. These palatial spaces were the heart of Minoan life, bustling with courtiers and craftspeople, a testament to prowess in artistry and administration. Imagine standing amidst this grandeur, where the elite moved in a languid parade of finery. Regal textiles woven with dances of color, precious metal adornments crafted with unparalleled skill, and exquisite ceramics marked their tables, each a symbol of status and ties woven through generation-born hierarchies. Here, luxury wrapped life's rituals in silk-threaded cloth, the pulse of privilege echoing softly on the polished stone floors. Yet, as you journey from these hallowed halls into the winding paths of surrounding settlements, a broader picture of Minoan life unfolds. Beyond the palace's glow lies the rhythm of merchant marketplaces and rural homesteads, where people were stitched within a fabric forged by necessity. They were skilled workers, whose every day was defined by the elements, farming the sun-baked soil, carving wood shaped by winds, fishing the gifted seas cast in serenity. Within these communities, life maintained a sensory richness rooted in nature, contrasting with the palace's polished veneer everyday existence marked by woven baskets filled by harvest spoils, the robust laughter of shared meals, amidst tools used through years scraped under task-compliant hands. It is here that social dynamics blend not so much in keeping with stark divides, but woven interactions, as intricate as any cherished fresco. Historians consider how an apparent disparity balanced this society, contemplating whether it was the village's toil and the worker's craft, that not only sustained the open-running palatial cores, but perhaps maintained equilibrium through structured support. Did the elite chafe at subsistence challenges masked by durable affluence, or did spirits intertwine, feeding each other through mutual dependence or societal grace, sustaining shared purpose? Within this model lies another fascinating facet. Minoan women's roles, often depicted in artistic portrayals with dignity and a measure of societal participation, offer hints toward gender-balanced agency in everyday life. Historians examine these depictions, pondering whether status distinctions allowed some women roles of influence not merely as passive symbols, but active participants in domestic, economic, or even religious spheres. Could these nuanced distinctions in social structure encapsulate empowered cohesion, as well as disparities, offering a web strung more to unity than division? Consider the possible constant negotiations between elite domains and supporting communities, where exchanges weighed collaborative continuance over friction, a network yielding to the demands knitting inequality into reasoned unity. While luxury may have graced the privileged, deprivation's specter perhaps flew beyond want of material resilience, etched its stories into bones of life, sharing the mantle with creativity, adaptability, and innovation. Weighing burdens fosters not only survival, but exchanges fostering knowledge and customs absorbed by Minoan culture. Complexity binding easy unity in masked contrast, alongside mutual interdependence flowing across island identities. Thus, the Minoan society's success wasn't merely in mastering luxury or living through simplicity, but in crafting an island-wide rhythm ringing with life's abundant possibilities woven strings, pulling through necessity and celebration, into creative manifestations celebrated unto self-sustained prosperity. In a pause, take heart within this living shell, not polarizing opposites predetermined, but ambiance flourished in shared communion, where people's threads gleaming brighten woven life's fullness along Aegean's weathered yet soundway sonnet seas. Through their duality of tones, acknowledge hopeful home-built assent or hail acceptance, yielding richer sphere beyond gilded gaze, witnessing progress exhaled into daydrift hues within harmonics accord, wafting unity friendship stories broad held through exchanges, unspelled fairness revered in earthly island stands. As the sun casts its golden net across Crete's undulating lands, you find yourself swept into the vibrant tapestry of the island's natural environmental world where flora and fauna interweave life's themes, composing an ecological masterpiece upon which Minoan society flourished. This rich landscape, with its bounty and challenges, composed the silent symphony of everyday existence for the Minoans, cradling their culture and sustenance within its verdant embrace. Wandering through olive groves, you hear the whisper of trees that were more than just emblematic crops. They were lifelines, bearing fruit synonymous with wealth and sustenance. The ancient olive offers its liquid gold, a staple of Minoan trade and dietary life. Manuscripts inked in the grooves of these ancient trees tell stories of epochs sustained by nature's gifts. Olive oil was a key trade commodity, revered both locally and afar, essential not only in cuisine but as a token of economic prosperity. Amidst these groves, you imagine the rustle of leaves mingling with the scent of thyme and sedge herbs clinging to rocky outcrops, their aromatic presence enhancing the Minoan palate and possibly contributing to their holistic traditions. The Minoan diet, plant-rich and carried by the forces of nature, speaks of harmonious living, a culinary testimony that survives in echoes through today's Mediterranean flavors. Venture further, toward the vineyards filled with grapevines stretching toward the horizon. Wine, the nectar of the gods, flourished as both sacred and profane, indulged during ceremonies and daily repast alike. Minoans crafted these wines with the same meticulous attention they afforded their temples and art, a skillful expression of the land's diversity translated into liquid omagia, vintage threading conviviality through every shared cup. Away from planted fields, the natural world spills into the colorful tapestry painted inside the heart of Crete. Dense forests, teeming with vibrant life, sheltered an array of species. The Cretan wildcat, elusive as wind shadows, prowled through underbrush, elusive prey chasing secrets borne upon padded silence. Eagles traced elegant arcs overhead, sky rivers casting cellular awareness known in Minoan artisan metaphor and myth. Historians delve into the murals and motifs, suggesting the symbolic use of native flora and fauna extended beyond dietary substance into religious imagery. Bulls and goats held symbolic status, representing vigor and vitality, the dance of life imbued with divine presence visible across clay and canvas. These depictions hint at a deep-seated reverence, extending beyond contemporary understanding and insight into the sacred interconnectedness that permeated Minoan consciousness. Consider, too, the importance of this natural abundance to the ecological cycles sustaining Minoan society in an age marred by existential precariousness. The fragile abundance gathered there could be upended by natural catastrophes, earthquakes, and volcanic events disrupting soil and unsettling the famously ordered harmony that Minoans cultivated so meticulously. The shifting nexus of nature, both providential and devastating, encouraged resilience within Minoan practice tales and customs, born from adapting to an environment, unpredictable but nurturing. A dichotomy, crystallized in resilient agricultural practices and rituals honoring nature's dual capability for creation and chaos. Historians continue to question how deeply these natural currents influence the Minoan worldview and societal dynamics. Did the tides of seasons and abundance strengthen their community bonds and belief structures? How did these forces shape rituals, celebrations, and maybe even the dialogues held between villagers and the divine? Returning to the present, you start to sense how modern communities echo this ancient, intricate connectivity with the environment. Minoan society, framed as stewards of land and sea, remains an enduring reminder of humanity's communion with the ecological fabric cradling life's endeavors. Bond, nuanced and enduring, poetic, yet practical. As dusk begins to soften the day's edges, you reflect on this symbiosis that not only sustained but enriched and inspired. It was a relationship not simply of survival but celebration, embedded in the patterns etched into the landscape of Minoan history and understanding that life flourished best when acknowledging both the abundance at hand and nature's untamed heart continuously beating beside it. Hosts, sustained by circumstance and devotion to earthships, mapped stars' astral weave, cupping roots, branching tails, wing melodies to selves, allowed growing valued green and gold shores, woven islands, spirited bridging tales. Now, as shared whispers, infinity casts echoes, rocked in cadences rendered unshorn by annals, leaned ages lees. As the twilight gently cloaks the ancient shores of Crete, your journey now follows the maritime trails etched in the annals of the seafaring Minoans. These adept navigators and traders were renowned for their exceptional seafaring skills, weaving stories of exploration and commerce across the vast expanse of the Mediterranean. Their legacy as legendary mariners not only powered their prosperity but also left ripples in the waters of history, influencing cultures far and wide. Imagine the clang of ropes against masts and the creak of wooden hulls as Minoan ships set sail from bustling ports, their prows cutting through azure waves with purpose. These ships, slender and agile, were masterpieces of nautical engineering for their time. They carried not only goods, but the spirit of a people who understood the ocean as both a gateway and a guardian, a conduit for the ebb and flow of trade and ideas. As you stand on these ancient docks, you can almost feel the vibrant pulse of maritime life as goods and tales arrived from distant lands. The Minoans welcomed traders from Egypt, the Levant, and beyond, exchanging commodities like precious metals, textiles, and ceramics, each more than mere trade goods, cultural ambassadors, leading dialogues of mutual respect and influence. The Minoans' prowess in navigating the seas wasn't limited to commerce. It was a broader narrative of civilization entwining itself with the rhythm of tides. Seafaring enabled cultural expansion, a broader spread of Minoan influence visible in artifacts discovered in far-flung coasts, From these exchanges emerged an intricate tapestry of shared mythologies and religious practices, melding Aegean traditions with those of other Mediterranean civilizations. Historians argue endlessly about the scope of Minoan influence at sea. Were the Minoans simply astute traders, or did they shape the cultures they encountered, seeding their artistry and myths in foreign soils? Was their maritime legacy one of dominance or diplomacy, petroleum-based lubricity fueling strategic alliances, rather than conquest by force? As you retrace these oceanic pathways in your mind, consider the implications of such extensive networks on Minoan society itself. Mariners brought back more than foreign goods. They carried ideas, stories, and innovations, enriching their home ports with a constant influx of novelty. These cultural cross-pollinations flowered within Minoan art and religion, offering glimpses into far-reaching connections that foretold a world both broader and more intimate than previously imagined. Their ability to traverse these waters also reflects a remarkable resilience and adaptability skills necessary not merely for survival but for thriving in a perpetually changing maritime arena. Amidst storms and shifting trade winds, the Minoans' voyages demonstrate a mastery of navigation reliant on both knowledge and courage. The same unpredictable seas that sustained them held dangers, yet the Minoans met them with unwavering determination etched into every plank of their craft. When imagining these explorers looking out toward unseen lands, do you perceive not only ambition but a poignant curiosity? Was the Minoan drive to conquer the waves fed by more than economy, or necessity? Was it an intrinsic embrace of the unknown, a cultural characteristic that propelled them boldly into the watery expanse? The Minoans themselves understood that the sea, an elemental source of life and inspiration, could also be a teacher of humility. The perfect balance between exploration and the respect for untamed nature linger within their maritime adventuressa duality, echoing the delicate harmony that sustained their island culture. Today, as we look back over the tapestry of history, the legacy of Minoan seafarers flows warmly through time, vibrant threads in the great Mediterranean network that continues to resonate far beyond silent fleets stilled beneath the sea's calm gaze. Their journeys illuminate an ancient understanding that the water's binding civilizations are not merely boundaries, but bridges a perpetual continuum, carrying echoes of shared human aspirations and discoveries. As you leave behind the shorelines, where sea stories hum along the gentle breeze, realize the tales of the Minoans are more than adventures doused with salt. Within them lies intrinsic songs, marking shared truths. Humanity's endeavor to move ever onwards, always seeking out the captivating dance with the horizon beyond this moment's sight. So, remember, while unraveling memories under star-crowned sky, 'tis not just fortune spirit-handed and passage grace allowing to part. Shared stars make converged destinic fables breath anew paths wave-like, unsailed yet eternal across seas vast cherished blue. As the waves of time pull us toward more mythical shores, you find yourself contemplating the legends that tether the Minoans to the fabled lost city of Atlantis. A tale suffused with intrigue and speculation, it provides one of the most captivating mysteries entwining Minoan civilization with ancient lore and the curious expanses of Plato's imagination. The possibility that the Minoans might indeed be the inspiration for this sunken kingdom whispers through the historical narrative, inviting an unending dance of theory and wonder. In Plato's dialogues, Atlantis is depicted as an advanced society blessed with unrivaled wealth, technological sophistication, and a supposed utopian or Thera portrait, not unlike the archaeological image we reconstruct of Minoan Crete. Historians and enthusiasts alike are tantalized by the stylistic and cultural similarities, drawing connections between the grandeur of Knossos and the resplendent city that vanished beneath the waves. As you dive deeper into these tantalizing parallels, you ponder how natural catastrophes, such as the cataclysmic eruption of Thera, could have birthed the Atlantis myth. Imagine the profound psychological impact of such a devastating geological event, leaving survivors clutching at epic tales that blend history with the fantastical. Could the drastic shifts in fortune and landscape on Thera and Crete have tugged at the collective memory, embedding stories of once great cities swallowed by the sea? Historians still argue whether Atlantis and the Minoans are separate threads or tightly woven tapestry strips. Were Plato's accounts, woven 4 centuries after the height of Minoan civilization, echoes of ancestral whispers passed through generations, or simply allegorical tales meant to convey moral lessons? The beauty of this mystery lies in its open-ended nature, a space where imagination fills history's gaps with creations of immense charm and wonder. The similarities don't end overly thematic, for delving into the practical, architecture provides tantalizing hints. The sophisticated infrastructure plumbing and urban planning of Minoan Crete closely aligns with descriptors of Atlantis, its multi-level grandeur reflecting an advanced understanding of civic engineering that seems timeless. As you traverse these shadowy labyrinths of possibility, consider the psychological heart of these myths. Atlantis serves to remind later cultures of hubris, while simultaneously appealing to notions of progress and the invaluable yet elusive pursuit of perfection. The Minoans, with their rich culture, mastery of the seas, and innovative endeavors, stand as real-world matches of these Atlantean ideals. But while these surface associations capture our attention, some historians emphasize restraint. They urge us toward caution when romanticizing past ruins and layering modern hopes upon them, reminding us to respect historical context. The Atlantis narrative beckons toward aspirations, yes, but also warns within its folds, inviting us to respect the delicacy beneath civilization's grand towers. As you walk sections of unearthed ruins, the silence of the Mediterranean waters seems laden with secrets, their whispered recitals lost amid gentle waves cresting silently under lunar luminescence. Do castles on sunken sands rest there? Reflections dimmed by mythic depths, opaque undersea veils, where truth remains suggestively yet hearteningly out of reach. Modern archaeology continuously unfolds this dialogue, seeking evidence on both land and seafloor to unearth insights that bridge myth to tangible observances. New technological advances bring hope that traces of this lost world might yet reveal themselves. A chip of pottery here, a whisper of submerged architecture there, spark imaginings along impossible shores. You leave this section of history rich in allure, but shrouded in speculative ocean mysta, timeless reflection, embodying humanity's quest to understand not just the facts, but the myths that define our shared narrative. Whether the Minoans stood as the forebears of Atlantis, or were simply one thread among many mythic imaginings, is perhaps always to be pondered, never precisely affirmed. Yet the story endures, transcending demarcated pages framed by silver dissonance in stone whispers. In this dreamscape where land meets ocean, there spins potential carried in violet across the tessellated seas of time-guardian amateur reminiscences foreshadowed yore, still invited to enchant and indent upon the canvas of perpetual historical inquiry. Embrace that potential, to behold what was envisioned yet not entirely decoded, realizing exploration flows from dreamt Atlantean realms into embraced present, wending eons, forms anew beneath seas, ever endless larboard seen unknown surveyed, where harbors anchor, what emerges through sought discoveries and shallow sound. As you dive further into the labyrinth of Minoan history, you are drawn to the mysteries that linger, these unanswered questions that tease the corners of your mind like shadows dancing on a frescoed wall. The air of Crete is imbued with the scent of antiquity's enigma, each breeze carrying whispers of what we do not yet grasp, a puzzle piece, awaiting its place in the grand mosaic of antiquity. In the heart of this enigmatic world lies Linear A, the still untranslatable script that weaves ambiguity with historical facts. The Minoans, adept at trade and administration, scripted their narratives and accounts in Linear A, yet it remains a silent witness to the passages of time. Historians and linguists have expended oceans of ink in attempts to unlock it, framing it as the key to understanding the inner workings of Minoan culture with clarity we so eagerly seek. Why did this script evade assimilation into later cultures, unlike its successor, Linear B? Was its purpose solely administrative, or did it harbor poetry and myth that could shine light on Minoan thought and spirituality? Scholars debate whether Linear A's silence is an accident of history or a testament to a highly territorial language that vanished with its people. Might there come a day when a monumental discovery illuminates its symbology? Or perhaps Linear A remains a perpetual cipher, each arcane symbol a reminder of the limits of historical understanding. Apart from linguistic shadow puzzles, consider the archaeological mysteries that persist across Minoan landscapes, a ceiling of riddles hung upon evidence partly emerged from the earth's protective embrace. Complications abound in the Garden of the Gods sanctuary atop Mount Juctas. Was it purely ceremonial, or deeper, a spiritual epicenter transcending mundane ritual? As spirits drift through these hallowed realms, historians debate whether the sanctuary connected to broader Aegean religious practices or nestled into a uniquely Minoan expression of worship. Then there's the buried city beneath the ash at Crete on Thera, whose ghostly streets paint haunting pictures of a once bustling civilization. It provokes questions about daily Minoan life abruptly frozen by volcanic fury, begging inquiry into what lay behind those petrified remains. What stories remain yet untold by houses empty of residents, harboring in cool depths tableaux locked in past life as fresco? Though illustrious, the Palace of Knossos itself is not exempt from questions. Its storied halls, mapped both with certainty and conjecture. Did it serve as mere administrative hub or ceremonial center as well? Was it the heart of a powerful monarchy or a city? State's complex tapestry woven with diplomatic nuance. Also begging attention are the economic tremors that likely precipitated decline. Some argue that foreign pressures or internal disruptions unrelated to natural disasters played roles significant but unsung. Might there have been resource scarcity or diplomatic overreach exacerbating tensions? It stands to reason that the fracturing of trade networks could ripple irreversibly across island prosperity in channels modern assumptions only partially plumb. Historians still argue about every detail of Minoan demise. Was it the silent, gradual unraveling of internal dynamics? A tangled web woven with Mycenaean threads overtaking where Minoan knots loosened? Perhaps the end came before truly anticipated, a blend of external invasions meshed with internal decay shimmering within seated power. Yet these mysteries, as unresolved as they remain, hold power over our imagination. They offer an invitation to wonder, to discover, to bridge what seem like unscalable gaps between understanding and intrigue. They urge more than just answers. They ask for patience, for the kind of relentless curiosity that exists in embracing what is known and what might forever elude us. As twilight descends upon the timeless arcades of forgotten halls and shadowed ruins, you find this enigma at the core of what makes humanity reach toward history's, both ancient and unsolved, a reminder that every civilization cradles within its stone bowers and written fragments the kaleidoscopic shivers of dreams both winnowed and fecundated. Thus, in revisiting these lingering mysteries, trace thought, asked through the corridors, set beyond determinative pasts, a glimpse into conundrum's fragile lace, remaining resplendent undone by history's yearning canvas steeped amid unlocked chimerical ellipticals, promising what once folded unto infinity's ethereal grasp, uncurtailed now hums separate silent refrains. Even among discovered truths lies the space where unknowns embolden exploration with unusual beauty, embracing expansive ancients' perforated flame, lending constancies unto present gifts, woven by vibrant rites, nestled wondering beneath antiquity's measured call. As you step into the final corridor of this immersive journey through Minoan mysteries and the echoes of ancient disasters, the waves of time carry you gently toward a reflection on the lasting legacy of this extraordinary civilization. With each ruin and relic you have encountered, a thread of continuity weaves its way through the centuries, binding lessons from the past with the present. The Minoans, though swallowed by the sands of history, continue to leave a profound imprint on our collective consciousness, shaping how we understand culture, resilience, and the inevitable mysteries of life. In recalling this journey through Crete's sunlit vistas and shadowed halls, you realize that the story of the Minoans is not merely one of triumphs and tragedies lost to time, but of enduring inquiry, a testament to human adaptation and unquenchable curiosity. Their civilization, with its advanced architecture and vibrant art, its myths and enigmatic scripts, whispers to us from every artifact unearthed and every mystery yet unsolved. It serves as a reminder of the complexities of human existence, mosaic of ambition, creativity, and myths woven together in layers of time. The Minoans teach us about the power of cultural exchange, of thriving within a tapestry of trade networks that connected diverse peoples and ideas, each thread integral to a broader, more colorful image of humanity. They show us that life's sustainability relies not just on what is crafted by human hands, but also on understanding and revering the whims of the natural world, a lesson from their interactions with flora, fauna, and the unpredictable seas that remain timelessly relevant. In the silence of ancient sanctuaries and the quiet dignity of forgotten scripts, we find a call to honor the past as more than a series of events. The unanswered questions, the unsolved enigmas, invite us to embrace the unknown, to let history inspire a continuous quest for knowledge, and to find beauty not only in understanding, but also in the pursuit of that understanding. As you drift away from these ancient shores, let the gentle hum of history resonate within your thoughts. Allow the lessons learned from the Minoan civilization to echo softly in the corners of your mind, strengthening your respect for the intricacies of human societies and the profound threads connecting us all across time and space. In the end, the Minoans remind us that while civilizations may rise and fall, their stories woven into the very fabric of our shared legacy endure. They remain as specters of old, guiding us if we choose to listen, their voices timeless in the balance between nature's embrace and the human spirit's enduring quest to understand and thrive. As the twilight settles over your reflections, soften the edges of uncertainty with a gentle embrace of possibility. Let your insights mingle with the cricket's songs or the rustle of leaves in the night breeze. Rest now, knowing that while the answers may not always be revealed in full, the journey through time's passage is a gift, a meditation on the interplay of history, mystery, and discovery. May the story of the Minoans and their enduring enigma cradle your thoughts as you drift to dream, wrapped in the comfort of understanding the beauty of questions that dance upon the waves of time, awaiting exploration anew with the dawn. Sleep now as history breathes through dreams, lulling an embrace into tomorrow's light, where stories endlessly unfold. Sweet dreams.